there you are. Now, if you remember when we last met in the before time, we were talking about gases, two particular gases, hydrogen and oxygen. If you remember, there were tests for those two gases, for hydrogen and for oxygen. Now, it's going to be key to this to remember what those two tests are. We're going to do a project that is going to involve those gases and what they're used for, but we'll come to that later. First of all, I want to see if we can do a simple experiment at home if we've got, as I think most of you have, a candle and some glassware. Now, we know that oxygen is vital for burning, but how vital? We know there's oxygen in the air, but how much oxygen? So we're going to discuss this and see what we can investigate with it. So I've got some of these simple candle tea lights, but you could easily use an ordinary candle like this. You might want to cut it down so it can sit in your beakers. But hang on a minute, you don't have these brilliant beakers at home that conveniently have their measurements on them. You don't have them. So what can you do instead? Well, I have actually thought of this, and if I swap these over for the sort of glasses you might be able to find at home, something like these sort of things. Let's see what we've got. These sort of containers from small to large, that should work. They need to be glass, they need to be clear, because we need to be able to see what's going on when our candle is burning and when it's gone out. So we can't use a mug, for example. We also don't want to be using plastic, because that could burn or melt. But glasses, it will make them go black, but it'll soon wash off, so it'll be fine. So, and you don't need this many little candles, one for each one would do. So I've got varying different volumes in my glassware, but what volume is it? I mean, they don't have any measurements on it. How am I going to know to do this scientifically? But there is a way you can do it if you've got one of these. Now, you might have one of these, a simple measuring jug in the kitchen. So if I filled my cup with water, then poured it into the measuring jug, I can see that this is actually a 100 millilitre container. So that's 100 millilitres. And if I did that for each one, then I would know exactly how much water, how much volume for each of my containers, my beakers. That's going to tell me how much air is in there, because we're not going to use water, obviously. We're going to tip them upside down. So what we need to do is get some beakers that you can use, get a candle or a tea light that you can use, get a clock, a stopwatch that you can time. So I'm going to use my phone here to time it, and then make sure you've asked permission for all this and followed our safety advice that we talked about last time. Check with a responsible adult if you've got one nearby, before you start lighting candles, and work out the clever space, the careful space, and go through all the safety risk assessments that we normally do in the lab, but do it at home in the guidelines that I've sent you. Once we've done that, then we can light our tea light. Let's get him lit. There we go. And I'm going to time how long it takes for this particular cup, which I haven't measured the volume of, but you know what, you would have done that. How long it takes for it to go out, like this. So I'm going to time it on my clock here, and I'm going to see how long it takes for that tea light, the flame, to go out. And it's done it already, so I've stopped it on 10 seconds. So I'll write 10 seconds down on my results table for that one. So if you get the volume of all your containers, and then the time it takes for the candles to go out on all your containers, you'll have got some data. Now, if you look at the instruction sheet that I've sent to you, you'll see what you're going to do with that data. So the experiment itself won't take too long, but it will give us something that we can use later on. So have a go, and as usual, any questions you've got, send me them on the chat on Teams, and I'll answer them best I can, so that you can at least have a go at something resembling this type of experiment to measure how much air a candle needs.